Hello. Hi, how's everyone? Nice to see all of you again. My name is Joji and I'm broadcasting live for our Joji Fall Knit Along. Today is Monday, October 25, and it's 2 p.m. As every Monday, I'm coming live from my studio. How's everyone doing? I always say I never know what I look like until I start broadcasting. I can see today that I look very sleepy. I am actually very sleepy. It's a very nice day here in Buenos Aires. And it's getting really warm, and I'm just sitting here relaxing and knitting a little bit with everyone. So if you are watching this recording, we have been getting together every Monday for Joji for Knit Along, and today is the sixth time that we do these live versions of the Knit Along, and it is technically the last time that I'll be live during the Knit Along. I will come live once more next Monday. I will then share all the prizes and all the winners of those prizes. I will share things like how many projects we had finished when we closed the Knit Along. Now she's going to close everything on Sunday, October 31st. It will be the last day of the Knit Along, and then Monday we will do all the drawing for the prizes. I'm reading the comments while I record, and we have people joining from Sweden, Nevada, Germany, Lake Constance, California, Canada, Estonia, Scotland, France, Ontario, Peru, Canada, Atlanta. And I'm sure that we'll have many more soon that are coming now to the live. So hello to all of you. I hope you're having a great start of the week. Lori is joining from Rhinebeck, Kathy from Denver. I'm here in Buenos Aires. Someone's making pumpkin soup. Everyone's chatting here. So what have I been up to last week? As you can see, nothing has changed here much. I have the same setup as last week. So I haven't been here at my office, or I haven't changed things much. I have been knitting a little bit, not much. I have been writing some patterns. I have been training a lot, and I have been sleeping a lot. Last summer, I had insomnia, so I only slept a few hours a night, and now I have the opposite problem. I'm sleeping all the time, which is not a problem to me. I'm always happy to sleep, but I've been feeling very sleepy lately. So I've been sleeping more than usual. Is a fat auntie says, is a cardigan without buttons considered finished? Absolutely. If you finished your cardigan and you want to post it without adding the buttons, then you can go ahead and post it. Remember, guys, to post your photos of your projects in the finish object threads for the knit along for each of the 5 teams that we have. They all have their individual threads, and we will be pulling out winners for the bag prizes, mostly from those groups, and then we will do random winners for patterns. Even if you didn't finish your project, we will do random winners for a bunch of patterns and ebooks. So yeah, so I've been knitting a little bit. I'm going to finish my row so that I don't risk dropping any stitches. I've finally made some progress on the shawl that I am designing that we have been discussing while we've been doing these live sessions, and this is how much I've made so far. You might remember the shape that I drew. It was going to be something like a sort of like a wavy, very subtly wavy pattern. So it started as a triangle with increases in the center, and then those increases continue only here, and then the increases continue only here, and then it switches, and then only here again. So it would look nicer without the ends peaking like that, but it's quite all right. I am using, so as I said, I'm ticking a lot of boxes with this design. I am doing a one skein technically project, so it's one skein plus leftovers. And I'm doing a one skein design. I'm also using leftovers, and also I'm doing a very simple introductory level brioche for those who want to try brioche for the same time. So it's very satisfying because I love one skein projects. I love using up the my sock leftovers, and I've been asking people around, and they all seem to be keen on work on either if someone already has work brioche, they say they really love it, and a lot of people have been saying they truly want to learn brioche, or they just want to use it. You don't need to learn brioche before using it. So lots of people have been saying they really want to use brioche in some knitting projects. So I'm gonna close the door because there's some noise outside. And I'm gonna read some of your comments. Kalia has a tip for carrying other color up the side. Then Beth says, hi, Hohi. My husband Jeff walked by and said hi to Hohi also. Oh, yes, please. That is so cool. Love it. Looking goofy. The dark main color images, it looked very dramatic. People joining from Verona. Then, okay, Blackmore says, good, not goofy. Sonia says, I finished newspaper pullover. Where do we share the photos? You can, if you have joined the knit along, you can come to Designs by Hohi group and you can share the photos in the finished object thread. And there's a frequently asked questions thread in the group where you can read how to post it if you don't know how to, but basically you can go to the thread and post a photo of your finished project and say, I finished my sweater and here it is. Georgette says, what gauge is your fuchsia and navy sweater? I think it was 14 stitches to 4 inches. But I'm not going to show it today again because I haven't made any progress on that. So I am going to talk about this one a little bit more. I haven't still used half, this is the right side. I haven't still used half of the main color. So I think that I can make it grow quite a bit. I am using syncopated brioche. So on one half of the project, we have, I'm looking at maybe a possible mistake here, or I just think I need to tighten that stitch. So on one half of the project, the contrasting or the leftovers are the main color, and on the other half of the project, the main color is the main color, basically, or the background color is the main color. And then I repeat that throughout the shawl. My ribbing or my brioche tends to look wobbly or funny looking until I block my projects, but I'm not worrying about that because I know that it will block very nicely when I soak this. About the yarns, I have to say I am not really loving this yarn. I'm very sincere with my recommendations or not. This might be, this is definitely an older yarn, so things probably have changed, and also I know that sometimes you get one color from one company that you love, or one batch of yarn from one company that you love, and then you get another one that you don't. I am not totally loving this skein of hedgehog fibers sock yarn. This is their sock yarn. I bought this a few years ago. I don't remember where. Probably online at a store, and I just kept it in my stash for some years. The color is called Vengeance, and it's an eggplant with dark green and brown and purple. So I love the color. I really do. I just feel like the yarn might have a lot of dye because it feels like it crunches when I knit with it, and it's staining my fingers really bad. So I am knitting with it, and I just washed my hands before coming, but I have dark fingers. Even if I knit 2 rows, I get dark fingers. I only need like 2 rows before starting to this live episode, and I already have the mark from Knitting Continental. So I know that sometimes yarn gets some excess dye and maybe they weren't able to rinse it properly, and I don't really mind. I am not super picky with my yarns, but I just wanted to say that I am not really loving this skein that I'm using. I think that it will block beautifully. I've used this yarn before. I made my V-neck boxy design using this base by Hedgehog Fibers. I don't like it for socks, but I love it for garments because I think it's very drapey. And I think it will make a gorgeous shawl, especially because the color is so pretty. I hope that it doesn't bleed a lot so that so that I still get these color differences on my shawl. I'm going to add a lot of vinegar to my wash, and so that I don't risk it. Megu Mills says, I've seen some yarn brands have wash before knitting directions. If anyone says that, I'm going to say I am very lazy for washing my yarn before knitting. In my defense, I am not a customer who will complain about anything like bleeding or like knots. I don't mind knots in my yarn. That's completely fine. I probably won't buy the same color from the same yarn company again, but that won't keep me from buying the same base. Then Chateau de Tricot says, don't wash it in warm or hot water, which I never do. Marisa says you can try using a color catcher as well when you block. I always pop one in when I block something with multiple colors. I have no idea what a color catcher is or if I can get something like that in Buenos Aires. Um, Hopefully, it won't transfer to what you are wearing. That is good to know. I think that yarn normally does not transfer to, like, yarn dye is so different from cotton dye because yarn dye needs acid dyes that bond into the proteins in the fiber. And then cotton has different kinds of dyes that bond to the cotton fibers with some other chemical reaction. So I think that for example, I used to dye yarn in my kitchen, and whenever I stained some of my clothes, I would just wash my clothes normally, and the dye would come off with without any problems, because also the dye needs the heat and the acid medium to bond to the fibers. So I'm pretty sure that I won't get any clothes permanently stained. But I'm going to make sure that I add a lot of vinegar to my wash and cold water, and I'm not going to let it like sit in the water for a long time. I'll just like quickly wash it and rinse it. I think I have the suspicion that if I add a little bit of soap and vinegar, I'm going to get rid of all the excess dye, that I can wash it out. And the vinegar will prevent any dye left in the yarn to transfer to the other colors in the shawl. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. The I am really liking using up all these leftovers. I'm going to share what happened with the first one that I used. This apricot color yarn is the yarn that I use for my Dreaming of Paris socks. And I don't know if you remember when I talked about the leftovers and me wanting to do something with them. I don't even remember how you all and I started talking about my leftovers, but I shared the story that I had some moths infecting my leftovers. I don't have moths in my open shelves that I have over there, although I have now mothballs everywhere. But I did have some moths come in a basket, into a basket where I was keeping all my balls of leftovers. And I realized once that I was knitting with the ball and there were cuttings in the yarn, and I freaked out. So I tried to clean everything. I inspected all of the balls that were inside that basket. Then I moved all those leftovers into a plastic bag, and I put like a gazillion mothballs inside that bag. And while we were chatting live, I picked some leftovers. So the first one was this one, and this was I found out that this ball was heavily attacked by moths. So there were 4 places where I had to join my yarn because there were cuttings. And so in a tiny area where I used that apricot color, I had to weave in like 20 ends. But hopefully no one will be able to tell when I finish that I had that misfortunate accident with moths. Mm, Jennifer says there is a way to make homemade color catchers with scrap fabric and washing soda. I haven't tried it, but I would if I couldn't find the ones at the store. I am going to do some research on that color catchers. Okay. I wonder what they are. Fabric and baking soda. Hmm. Mm, Moths are every knitter's nightmare. Tell me about it. I freaked out so bad. I was so upset and I am still really anxious, wondering if some of it has attacked the area where all the new skeins are. I keep like inspecting it and like spraying it with all the um, bug spray that I found. But anyway, so I had picked five colors for my contrasting colors in this shawl. I have already used these three, and then I still have to use these two. But I am wondering, I think that I will have more yarn than I think I will have more of the main yarn that I need in order to add the two remaining brioche sections. So I might pick up a six color so that I can use up all the skein of this main color yarn. You can also use a new unwashed white towel as a color catcher. I buy a whole pack at Costco and then use them for shop rags. Our color catchers in the States are made by Shout, that are also called dye trapping sheets. Okay, I thought it was like a product, like a chemical product that I needed to add, but I'll see if I can make a homemade color catcher. So, what else has been happening this week? I share that I'm really tired today. I I've been napping accidentally at home. So I normally train in the morning until 9 or 10 a.m. Then I come home, I shower, I start working. Lately I have been knitting the shawl quite a bit and listening to an audiobook, and I just fall asleep. I pass out when listening to this audiobook that I'm reading now. And I think it's that I'm training very hard. I have a race coming up on November 5. And even though I think that I'm used to all the training, it's probably my body just trying to recover from the physical activity that I'm putting it through. But I just basically pass out on the couch at random times during the day. Then yesterday we did a cross training day. So Charlie, my eldest, and my youngest, no, Charlie, my eldest, and I rode the bike about 25 miles away from the city to an area called Delta in near the river. Then we sailed, we kayaked, and then we rode the bike back home. So I was really, really tired by the time I got home. And my youngest didn't do that because he had been playing football on Saturday and he was the goalkeeper for his football match or soccer match. And he tried to catch the ball with his right hand, and the ball sort of bent his wrist and he was having some pain. So he decided not to ride the bike and he drove there with some friends. In the evening, when I inspected his wrist and his pain, he was still under some pain. So I thought, my kids and I, we don't usually feel a lot of pain. So I thought there's something that doesn't look so right about this, the fact that he's still in pain 24 hours later. So I took him to the emergency room His pain level wasn't high, but I thought that it was strange that it didn't completely vanish. And turns out that he had a fracture. So his radius was probably compressed when the ball hit the hand, and when he bent the hand, some of the bones uh, press the head of his radius. So he needs to wear a cast for, we don't know yet. We have to see a specialist this week because the cast was um, made by one of the urgency residents. And he recommended that Sebi is assessed by a pediatric traumatologist. So we don't know yet for how long, but I have a feeling that it won't be less than 4 weeks. So that is quite disappointing for him because the weather is starting to get really warm, and one would think that the boys would soon start to use the swimming pool at the summer house, and he has a trip coming up in 10 days for with his schoolmates and his school. So he will have to come with his cast on. And so, yeah, we were hoping that it wasn't nothing too serious. It's not too serious, but still he has to wear that cast. So that is what we are doing now, seeing doctors with Sebi. Let's read some comments. Kalia says, one brand of color catcher is Dr. Beckman Color and Dirt Collector, made in Germany. They look like a dryer sheet. Don't expect miracles, though, so I won't. Nitsta loves the shawl and asks, how long will it be? So whenever I design a one skein project, even though this one, as I said, is a one skein and leftovers, I try to design it so that you can keep going until you run out of yarn. So I think that I could say if you have two skeins and you have, a million leftovers that you want to use, you could use two skeins and more colors if you want to. I think that's what I'm going to do in the pattern. But my sample is going to go until I run out of the main color that I'm using. Okay. People say they always have much better sleep when they regularly exercise. Rosa says it could also be allergies. If your spring is right around now in Buenos Aires, it could be all the pollen in the air. Allergies could show up as tiredness and sleepiness. That could definitely be it because spring is so terrible here with all the pollen and all the flowers in the trees. And I've been outside more than I normally am. Not this year, but previous years. I'm not on the street, outside all the time like I have been this year. And we have been breathing all this pollen while we cycle on the streets. So we get all this pollen into our eyes and nose, and we've been sneezing and we've been having sore eyes all the time. So it could be definitely allergies. Kim says, here in the US, a company, Dharma Trading, sells anti-bleeding rinse to stop the bleeding. It's called Retain. Probably I could see if I can find out what that's made of and see if I can find something similar in one of the chemical companies. Oh, everyone's sending good wishes for Sebi's quickly healing. Then Beth says, for me, adding some healthy fat to my diet helps when I've been working out hard and feel extra tired during the day. Eating an avocado helps me. I probably eats a lot more healthy fat than any other human ever because I eat a lot. I eat all kinds of foods and in very big quantities. So, but I do love avocados and I eat like baskets of them. Um, Healing hugs for Sebi. Oh, thank you guys for Sebi. Karen asks, hi, how was the scuba and boating training? The scuba diving, thanks for remembering. We went there last Monday. We were doing the first day of something like a 2 month scuba diving course. I can't say that it was the best experience. It's in a swimming pool, and the place that we went to was very sketchy, as in not very hygienic or clean. I understand that probably the teachers were trying to keep the cost of the course low, but the changing rooms and the locker rooms were kind of creepy. And I had to be there by myself because the rest of my family were males. Um, the teacher was amazing. We really liked him. He's very cool. There were several teachers and there were different groups on different stages of their learning processes for scuba diving. We were the only ones beginning. We learned a few basics about safety and rules when you dive. Then they showed us all the gear that we need. And then we actually went into the swimming pool with the gear and we dove and we swam a few swimming pools back and forth. It was fine. I don't think that it's going to be my favorite thing, but probably I was doing it in the most horrible place where one could practice scuba diving. However, I don't know that we will continue because we only went for one class and now Sebi has his cast on and he's unable to swim. So it doesn't make sense that the rest of the family gets certified if Sebi won't get certified. So we're trying to see if we can postpone our learning for next year. So I don't, but the kayaking, the rolling is going well. We're rolling now with our paddles, and we should be good to go in a few more classes. Hi from Bavaria. With kids, you need to make sure the fracture is not in a place that might still grow, so the fracture can affect that negatively. Good luck. Yes, that is the main reason why the guys at the emergency room were very quickly at getting a cast on his arm to make sure that it doesn't affect their growth cartilage. So it's safe. It hasn't been affected, but they don't want it to be affected. So that's why he got the cast on. Rosalind wonders if Sebi could wear a 3D printed cast. We're actually doing some research on that and see if there's anyone who can provide one of those here in Buenos Aires. I think that once we see the specialist this week, we will be able to find someone, hopefully. The benefit of that is that Sebi could be in the swimming pool with a 3D printed cast because they are plastic, and then the cast wouldn't become undone if he gets it wet. It would smell very bad when you take it off, but he will be able to actually get in the swimming pool. Not swimming, but he can actually get in the swimming pool with his friends. Scuba is amazing. If you can get used to the equipment and get into the ocean, it's so worth it. Hi Hohi, Ruth here. I just finished the licorice vest. very first hockey pattern in my handspun yarn from one of my sheep. That is amazing. I hope that you will come and show us in the finished object thread on our Designs by Hockey group. And then what else has been happening here? My brother came with his partner, who you might remember, she's pregnant with our new nephew. And they were here, and she's got a belly, and we can now get super excited because we can actually see the baby growing in her belly. This is the first baby in our family in many, many years. So we're very excited. And they stayed here at my place. And so I was hosting them and my sister in law's parents. So I don't know, the week just flew by. I haven't been doing much other than knitting on this little shawl of mine. I have been listening to a good book, even though I pass out and I fall asleep on it. I don't know if I shared what I'm reading now. This book is called Apples Never Apples Never Fall, I think. Let me check. Hmm. Apples Never Fall. Have I shared that with you? And it's written by Lian Moriarty. I am halfway done with this book and I'm enjoying it a lot. It's mm, the previous book that I had read was called The Midnight Library. It was a shorter book, more emotional. Probably I was very touched by that story, and it was more dynamic, and I loved it, and I recommended that here in the podcast. This one is different. I like it equally, I think, but it's a very different type of book. Um, I am I am not such a big reader that I can actually describe the book or do a review of the book without spoilers or anything or comparing it to other things. But what I can say is, for me, what I like is that I think that the book is, um, how do I say this? The story is as if they want to make you believe that this is a crime story, like this is, yeah, a crime story, but actually they're just telling the story of a family all the time. And there's this very colloquial language, and you learn a lot about the characters, great character building, and there's some humor, there's very sad things to hear or to read, and I'm just getting to know all of these characters, that and very little of what I thought I was going to be reading about. So yeah, Elizabeth says it's a family drama and a mystery, but I enjoyed the characters. Yeah, exactly. I love the way the writer shares their life. I have never read anything by her. I love her writing very much. I think I'm going to read more things by her. She makes the story long, but in a way that you don't want to stop listening to her story or reading her story. So I highly recommend this book. I can't say that I liked the entire book because I haven't finished it, but I am really enjoying getting to know all these characters and their little quirkiness. Um, and if you like Audible, like I do, the actress reading this drama Um, sh- I don't know if the author is Australian. I don't know why I picked this book. It was probably recommended by Audible because I don't know anything about the writers and I don't really research writers enough before jumping into their books. Like, I'm going to listen to your story for 25 hours. But it is read by someone from Australia. So at first it was took me a while, that I struggle with accents and English, and it took me a while to get used to her accent. But now I'm enjoying her so much. I don't know if I know that when I speak in Spanish, I pick people's accents in Spanish. So if I perhaps spend time with someone in the country who comes from Cordoba or other provinces and they have a very characteristic accent, I tend to pick it up and I end up talking like them for a little bit, which is not something that I do consciously. I just pick up their accent. So I don't know if any of my accent in English changes depending on what book I have been listening to each week, because I've been listening to books read by um, people from the States from different places, and English readers, and now Australian readers. So, yeah. Let's see. Do you normally read or listen to books in English or in Spanish or a mixture of both? I started listening to books in Spanish because at first it was hard enough for me to focus on the story happening in Spanish already. It took me a while to get used to audiobooks. And I tried listening to my first attempt at trying to listen to a story in English was the last volume of Outlander. It wasn't out in Spanish, so I purchased the English version, and the reader was probably Scottish or from Northern England, and I couldn't understand her very well. And because I didn't have experience with audiobooks enough, I just felt like I wouldn't understand the story. I was focusing too hard on trying to understand the words to be able to actually join those words together into a story and understand the story. So I quit. I think I listened to it for an hour and I wasn't really I kept like falling off the story and my mind was wandering around and I could see that I was not paying enough attention. Um, so then I decided that maybe my English wasn't good enough to for audiobooks and it was good enough for other things. But then I sometimes do read-alongs with my friend Heli. We do read-alongs or listen-alongs, and sometimes we pick a book that we both read at the same time. And she wanted to read a book. She was going to read it in Finnish, and in English it's called Where the Crawdads Sing, and that wasn't available in Spanish. So I said, okay, I'll give it a go in English and I'll see if this time I can actually understand. I have been listening um, to audiobooks for a longer time. I'm more used to them. So I think I'm ready for some English again. Well, it turns out that Where the Crawdads Sing is a story that takes place in the south of the US. I think it's southern South Carolina or maybe Georgia. And it's read, of course, by someone with a very thick Southern accent. And again, I thought, okay, I'm not going to be able to pick this up. The accent is like really, really strong on this person, and I was ready to give up, but I didn't have any other books, so I stuck with it. And after maybe 2 hours of listening to her reading, I completely got it. I was like completely familiar with this person's English. I was 100% understanding everything she was saying, and I was into the story and completely immersed in it. I really like the story. I really like that book. And so after listening to that one with that accent, I thought, okay, I'm ready for any any audiobook in English. Just bring them. So now I appreciate all the different accents that I get to practice from when I'm reading all those audiobooks in English. Um, Carb says, as a maybe a mom, I think I've learned too well how to block out background noise. So haven't been real successful in listening to audiobooks. I found myself having to constantly go back, which is no fun. Yeah, of course. People recommending Where the Crawdads Sing. Kalia says, excellent book about Argentina's dirty war, The Ministry of Special Cases by Nathan Englander. Excellent. Anyway, that is about my reading this week. I'll soon have to start another project. I'm wondering if I will start a cardigan, a pullover. I'm testing this cardigan over here. I am about to start the test knit for this one. There will be a call for test knitters in my Ravelry group probably this week. So I don't know. I have a lot of freedom to actually sign what I want. So I guess next Monday I'll show you what I've been up to. But I can say that this year, so it's October 25. This time of the year for the past at least 5 years, I've been completely stressed. My stress levels have been 250%. And at this time of the year, I can't wait for the year to be over and the summer to start, and when we can finally move to the summer house and I can disappear from everything that's happening here. And this is the first year that I don't feel that. I feel very calm. I think that the amount of work that I'm managing is good. I'm taking care of myself. I'm taking care of my children. So I can't, as long as you don't mind me talking about trivial stuff like what I'm reading, I think that I really like coming here more regularly and doing shorter sessions of my journal. So I won't wait until I have more knitting content to show you because I really like spending time. I really like sharing what's going on. And I realized that I don't have to have a ton of finished projects to come here and chat with you all. I thank you for that. During this knit along, you've always been here listening to what I have to say, and everyone's been so encouraging and asking questions and being interested in other aspects of my life. So I've been reflecting on that. I've been really sensitive, and it's been really heartwarming. So I want to like sincerely thank you, and I won't promise to come more often, but what I want to say is that you've made me feel really comfortable, and you've taken a huge weight off my shoulders. Like I have to be productive to share this space. I know that I don't have to do that now. So I'm gonna sign off by saying that I'm also very grateful to my moderators who have run the entire Knit Along this year by themselves. They've done everything for it. They've cheered everyone. They've been hosting all of the teams. And I know you guys love them. I know that you're very comfortable with your team leaders, and that makes me feel really appreciated too, because I know that you appreciate the people that I choose to work with and to be with. Um, and I also hope that you can join us next year, because we all have fun. We all really like it. The way that we did it this year, I can really, really manage it. And I hope that you have fun knitting all the projects. Don't forget to post your finished objects before Sunday in the Designs by Joji group. And we will have many prizes to share with you next Monday. See you all next week, and happy last week of Knit Along. Bye bye.